Please, somebody help me and my baby.
Never fear. It's me, Spider-Man. Would you like help? Would you like my assistance?
Who are you?
I'm Spider-Man. I've really let myself go. Thwip! Spider-Man.
What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. Sorry for the cringe intro, but today we're here to talk about something that I have been dying to just dive into because there's so much to this movie. Devin, I've seen it 3 times. By the way, this is my really good friend. We grew up together, and he is just the world's biggest fan of the OG Spider-Man trilogy. So we watched it together last night. That was your first time seeing it, and I had to get him in here for this spoiler-filled review and breakdown. We're going to go through every single moment, every single line. Devin, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good. I'm glad to be here. And I just want to start off this episode because before we dive into this, I just want to congratulate you, man. Over 100,000 subscribers. That's pretty awesome. And he won't say it, so I'll say it for him. He works really hard at this, and I, as his best friend, you know, I see the work he puts into it. So I'm really happy for all of you guys that support him every day. So I just wanted to start off with that. Congrats, man.
Thanks, man. I didn't expect that. I'm blushing. No, man, I appreciate it. I love having you on the channel. You and your sweet outfit. What's this all about?
Well, actually, I'm a teacher, and Friday was like the ugly Christmas attire.
I don't think that's ugly.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So I wore this. I wore this on Friday, and everybody was like really impressed with it. So I was like, you know what? When we go watch Spider-Man, I'm gonna go wear it. And at the movie theater, everybody was like, "Hey, there's that guy with the cool jacket." I was that guy. It was awesome.
I planned on wearing my suit to the movie, but it was kind of a last-second thing, so I didn't. But we walked in, and so many people were like, "Man, I love that outfit." And Devin's like, "Thank you so much."
And of course, my wife, hates it, and I'm like, "No, Nikki, the people love it. You got to give the people what they want."
And he did. And there's so much to talk about with this movie. There's so much. And, you know, going into this, I just want to know, like, were you, and this is spoiler-filled, right? Were you anticipating there to be more than just the villains in the film, right? Were you anticipating Tobey and Andrew showing up?
You know, in the back of my mind, the whole time I was thinking if all the villains were here, then I figured that Tobey and Andrew had to pop up at some point.
Yeah.
That's just what my thinking was. But then again, I know how Marvel is. Sometimes they just surprise you and they let you down and they stab you in the heart. They don't care. And so I was like, you know, maybe they might not pop up. Maybe a post-credit scene, but that'd be it. So the way that they were portrayed in the movie, I was super glad to see them.
Yeah, and I was so happy that they were in it for more than just like a 10-minute scene at the end. Part of me wanted it to be them popping through the portals at the end during the fight scene, but I love that we got all of those moments between Andrew and Tobey and Tom that we'll get into here in just a little bit. But I want to start out, going all the way back to the beginning, kind of picking up where Far From Home leaves off, and, Spider-Man, kind of your biggest fear, having his identity revealed to the world, the fallout of Mysterio. It really makes me look back at Mysterio as a villain and say, even though in that movie he was threatening and he was able to do a lot, I didn't see him in the light that I see him in now, because the fallout of everything comes from Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio. He's the reason why this is happening. So I love how that is kind of capitalizing on Far From Home, and that fear that Peter is feeling and everyone gathering around MJ and freaking out. Like, what were your thoughts when the movie started out and everyone's crowding around Spider-Man?
Well, you got to think he is the first Spider-Man that we've seen in the movies that's ever had his identity revealed.
It's true, yeah.
And so we really don't have any kind of background knowledge on how this is going to go. And people just absolutely went berserk over this. And to me, what is kind of crazy about it is, if you think about it, everybody knows that Tony Stark was Iron Man. Everyone knows that Steve Rogers was Captain America.
True. Yeah.
But when it came to everybody finally knowing, okay, Peter Parker is Spider-Man, they just went crazy, and that was the biggest thing to me. In the back of my mind, I kept on thinking about that. Like, he's had this secret identity for so long, but at the same time, there's all these other superheroes who haven't. So, it's just kind of was like a groundbreaking thing because he really is one of a few, I guess, that or maybe one of the only that really tries to hide his identity the whole time that he's a superhero.
Well, it's kind of fun too because we've always seen superhero movies where that's kind of the case with a hero, but in the MCU, like you said, everybody's just really open about it, and we've never really been able to see kind of the fallout of what happens if someone who has been concealing that to protect their loved ones, and we see what happens to the loved ones in this movie, if that is able to like kind of come to light. And oh my gosh, what an awesome montage of opening scenes that we get there, from the hilarious and I think the humor is something that may slightly divide some people in this film. I thought it was really well handled, and that is definitely the case at the beginning when he swinging around MJ. You see someone like Flash realize that it's Peter Parker. Oh my God! You see them swing into Aunt May's house and the police gathering around, and that hilarious scene between him and MJ when Aunt May's just like kind of sex Peter, and he's like, no, it's not sex. I'm just kind of freaking out. And he's swinging, pulling the windows down, and Happy's crying in the background because their relationship. And then on the television screen, they're surrounding their apartment, and everyone realizes, oh no, what are we going to do now? And that's when they go in. They're being questioned, and this entire thing leading up to the first big reveal, Devin, that shocked a lot of people. I want to say I had a hunch. I kind of knew from some insiders that Daredevil was going to be in this movie, or at least Matt Murdock. But everything kind of leading to that moment, Devin, what were your thoughts on some of those comedic scenes, and then what was your reaction? I saw his reaction. What was your level of emotion when you see Netflix's Daredevil? If that is that version, could just be the same actor, we don't know yet. But what was your reaction when you saw him on screen?
Well, that's the thing for me. When I think about Peter Parker, you think about him being a kid. He's a kid. He's in high school. When we were in high school, we were hilarious. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, we were absolutely hilarious. If you saw any of his our previous videos, which you probably haven't, they're so many. Quite impressive.
Yeah, they are.
So no, Peter Parker in my mind should be, and I think Tom Holland kind of captures that essence of being that funny kid.
Yeah.
So I really do like the comedic scenes in this. I think that they do a good job in it, and I like him and MJ's interactions together. I feel like they do a really good job because he's like the happy one, and she's kind of like, kind of like that. Oh, don't tell you, okay.
It's kind of like me and my wife.
Me and Nikki are kind of like that too. I feel like I'm the super funny one, and she's just like,
all right, cool. What, very monotone? Yeah.
But then kind of like right off the bat, man, when Daredevil shows up, and I was like, oh, okay. And I looked over at you, and I was like, this is gonna be good. Like, we're that far in. Like, this is just a little bit into the movie, and already he shows up, and I was really excited about that. And because me and you've talked about this, I love the Netflix series with Daredevil. I think he does a good job. And
well, I won't reveal what's happening in Hawkeye, and this is a Spider-Man review, not a Hawkeye review. But that is also starting to bring in some of the Netflix stuff. Not just the character of Matt Murdock. So it's all happening, and it happened this week. So it's all happening in the same week, and I love that Marvel kind of strategically planned that. At least it feels like it, right? But Daredevil coming in, I mean, the implications for that are huge. And I do love the fact that it was just Matt Murdock and not Daredevil. You get a little tease where he catches the brick. Right. But just kind of, giving the fans something to go off of to lead into what I believe will be eventually a television series, maybe on Hulu, maybe on Disney Plus, because I want it to be darker. If it's darker, it's going to be on Hulu. And the rumors that he's going to appear in multiple other shows, including something like a Moon Knight, or maybe a She-Hulk, or even Echo, who is a character that's introduced in Hawkeye. She's getting her own TV show. So a lot of really great stuff to come there. But then we kind of cut over into this whole Peter and his friends wanting, trying, doing everything, and we can all relate to this because we've all been there, trying to get into MIT. And that is a really nice inclusion because, even with all the crazy Spider-Man stuff, the multiverse, this and that, I wanted to see Peter Parker still be a kid who's trying his best to get his future together, get into the college that he and his friends want to go to together, but they're not able to do that because of the controversy that's surrounding everyone knowing his identity. We see a little bit of the fallout of that when he approaches his teachers, and you have the hilarious guys that we saw in the last movie. Two of them are like, all right, Peter Parker Spider-Man, and then the other one, the gym teacher from the first film, he's like, nah, Mysterio's right. Mysterio's right, man. Like that, you are in the wrong, and we see that division there. And I love that little line. He's a conspiracy theorist, just like throwing in those little quips. They're so funny. But you see that division with the kids. You see that division with the parents. But finally, it all kind of comes together when they get the letter and it says, "Sorry, you can't go to this school, not because you're not deserving, but because of the controversy surrounding Spider-Man." So not only affecting him, it's affecting his friends. What were your thoughts on just this entire storyline with MIT?
Well, it's kind of realistic. I can really see that happening.
Yeah.
The thing is I can think back to when we were in college. It's kind of the at that time in your life, it is the most devastating thing when there's a certain college that you want to go to and you can't go. And for Peter to deep down know that he's the reason that his friends can't go, that to me was probably him. It definitely did. It hit him very, very hard.
Yes, it did.
So, we'll maybe see later on how that plays out.
Yeah, no, and I love kind of, oh man, and the heartbreak behind that. But I love kind of where that goes, how it comes back in. And even though you get all these moments, your MIT storyline, that cuts off. Your Matt Murdock, he goes away. It's like all of these things, there's just no time to keep these things consistent throughout the movie, because right after that, he decides, he sees that little figure, the Halloween figure, and says, I got to go do something. I got to go Dr. Strange. He got to work his little magic fingers, and he's got to get me a spell to go back in time. But then when he has that conversation, I love seeing Wong. By the way, Wong, did you say to me, Wong?
Like, he's in every movie.
Wong is in everything.
He's in everything.
This dude's a beast, and he's such a big superhero fan in real life. So I love seeing that. But
it didn't enter my mind that Doctor Strange was gone for the blip. So he was the key of the time.
And Wong he's Sorcerer Supreme, man.
Yeah,
like that's a
didn't
big.
know that.
Those implications for Doctor Strange, the film, they're going to be huge, right? So that was just a passing line too. So then Wong's like, I'm out. Nope, not helping. And I don't know if you were aware of this controversy, Devin, but when everybody saw that first trailer and saw the way Doctor Strange,
don't cast a spell or something. I saw that in the trailer.
Yes. So basically, like, there was a rumor going around that either Doctor Strange was up to something, or Doctor Strange was fully aware of the consequences that were going to happen and was secretly doing something. Now, we see a little bit later on, after the film, in that Doctor Strange trailer, that there is going to be a bad version of Doctor Strange from the television show What If, but it's not our version that we see here. So this Doctor Strange is Doctor Strange. He's just aware of the consequences. So that kind of theory went out the window almost immediately, and that banter with Peter Parker was really good. But he wants to help him. You know why? Because he knows that Peter is dealing with the death of Tony Stark and everything that he's going through now. That's piling up. And that little look he gives to Wong a little bit later on, he's like, yeah, after all he's been through, why not try to help the kid? Why not try to help the kid? So he goes down to what looks like it's a wizard's dungeon. That's what it is. They say it's a wizard's dungeon. And he casts this spell. But in the midst of casting this spell, Peter's like, oh gosh, I didn't realize this. Everybody's going to forget me, right? I go, well, what about my Aunt May? And what about MJ? And what about Ned? And what about all this stuff? And so that kind of messes up the spell. It collapses in on itself, and Doctor Strange, you can tell how pissed off he gets because he says, call me sir.
Yeah.
Says, call me sir, after that whole conversation. So
yes, sir.
All of that stuff with Doctor Strange was crazy, man. What were your thoughts while this is happening, like in terms of multiverse and just in terms of what he was doing?
Well, I knew it was about to get crazy.
You even gave me a look.
Yeah.
You go, what'd you say? You're like, it's about to get real,
I was like,
or something.
it's about to go down.
Yeah.
it's about to go down right now.
Yeah, and it did, and it really did, and that entire. I mean, did you believe that spell was going to be what brought the villains in, or what was your mindset? And because I feel like a lot of people are going to be able to relate.
Yeah, well, that's where I was going with this. I kind of figured that once he cast this spell, and with him messing with Doctor Strange, Doctor Strange, and he's that full concentration, man.
Yeah.
And here comes Peter being that typical teenager and and bothering him and while he's trying to do that. And that's what I kind of figured. I kind of figured whenever he would cast that spell, he kind of messed it up. But in my mind, it was going to be like somehow Peter messed him up, like maybe said something, and when he said something that it would have changed everything.
Yeah.
But that kind of, I guess, was not what happened.
Yeah.
When he done the spell. I figured, like, what I mean by that is, like, when he was taking those certain people out of the equation, somehow he opened up certain parts of the multiverse. I know that sounds super nerdy. Like, I know I'm really diving into that really super hard. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, kind of like opened up, like,
Yeah.
I guess the term wouldn't be black holes, but like, I don't know. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
what?
Because I know we don't know a lot about the multiverse. We don't know a lot.
No, we don't. And
So I don't even know what the terminology would be.
I'll tell you one thing, man. We don't know a lot now, but hopefully by the end of May, after that
Yeah.
movie comes out, we're going to know a lot more.
Yeah.
And so you're caught up. WandaVision, Loki, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Caught
So
up on that.
So we start to see the culmination of all of these things. And that's the first time in cinematic form when he's doing all that spell stuff, we're like, okay, the multiverse is opening. It really looks like it's opening in many different ways because it kind of opens up in Loki. It kind of opens up in WandaVision. But now we're bringing in all these threats that know one specific character. They know the character of Spider-Man. And Doctor Strange isn't aware of this. He's like, all right, got it, wrapped it up, put it in a ball, threw it away, right? We're good. Everything's good. Just get out. You know what I mean? Just like, go away.
Well,
So
and the funny part about that was he was like, wait a second. Like, you need to
Yeah,
tell me you
yeah.
didn't call MIT to, like, plead your case on
Yeah.
why they should accept you. He's like, wait, you can do that?
yeah.
You mean to tell me we just done this whole spell and you didn't do that?
It's such a kid thing to do. Like it's so perfect because he's still learning. He's still a kid. Doctor Strange says this. He's still a kid. He's still in the process of getting all of that. So he's like, you know what? I can't believe how much I can recall this movie because I've seen it 3 times. I have a problem. But he says,
Oh, that's for sure.
It is, absolutely. He said that's the first step is admitting it. I'm going to call Flash. I'm going to find someone to allow, MJ and Ned to have a chance. I just want my friends to have a chance. So he calls Flash. Flash is like, only if you swing me to school. You tell everybody if Spider-Man's my best friend. He's like, okay, Flash, shut up. Fine. Okay. So now he's on his journey to find this lady who seems like a good person, but of course there's that, is Spider-Man good? Is Spider-Man bad? Has an awkward conversation. She says, you didn't rehearse that, did you, Peter? Because clearly he did not.
Yeah.
But in the midst of that, this is when the bridge starts to shake, and you begin to hear some explosions. You're seeing some things in the distance, and we've all seen the trailers, so we knew it was going to be Doc Ock, right? But when Doc Ock shows up, here's one thing I love about this movie. Not only do you get Doc Ock, and not only do you get the really cool, somewhat newish look to him, because obviously 2021, the CGI is going to be a little bit better, but you get his music, the dun da dun dun da da, just the very specific Spider-Man 2 Danny Elfman composed music that I was just like, oh my god. Followed by an epic fight scene between Spidey and Doc Ock, and your face during all of this was elated, man. How cool was it to see this after, what's it been, 2004?
Yep.
All of these years to see Doc Ock back.
And to see it actually in a movie theater, not just watching on like a TV screen at home. It was awesome. And one thing that I have not done yet, and I really would like to do, is to see a picture of him now. And go back and look at the movie and just see how much CGI work and stuff they had to do, like just specifically on his face and things like that. Those are the kind of things that I was noticing, like just looking at him, I was like, wow, he looks just like He did when he was played in Spider-Man 2, and that was the thing that I couldn't get over the most.
And it's funny because Alfred Molina himself in an interview, he said, well, I wanted to come back, but how are they going to, since it's me from 2004, how are they going to make me look like that? And he's like, oh, wait. I've watched, because apparently he's watched some of the other Marvel films.
Yeah.
They've done this before. They did this with Tony Stark. They did this with what's his name from Ant-Man. They've done Hank Pym. They've done countless characters reverse CGI. I thought Sam Jackson as Nick Fury looked incredible in Captain Marvel. So I believe that they put everything they could into making these guys look younger, and it paid off. And he looked great. Because not only is this film bringing us villains from their time before they died, but then they're bringing us Spider-Men, and we'll get into that, from now. So you're having to CGI all of these people, all of these faces, but then you're having to explain it, right? And for your more general audience goer, and Devin, I'm curious to see how Nikki, how Devin's wife kind of handled this. Is it confusing to a general audience member that all these villains come from 2002, 2004, 2014 when Electro, and then you have Spider-Man from now? Or does the more general audience goer just kind of see this as, oh, it's the Spider-Man and the Spider-Man villains, maybe they're from the same time, maybe they're not? I thought the movie did a good job of explaining that. How did you feel about the movie's explanations behind when they came from, why they came here, and the fact that the two Spider-Men were the current versions of those two? Did you think the explanations were good?
Yeah, I think the explanations on that were pretty good. And, because even in the movie, the villains talk about how, well, I was about to kill Spider-Man, and then I came here.
Mm-hmm.
So they do a good explanation on that. And then with the Spider-Man, you can obviously tell just by looking at Tobey Maguire, looking at him, that is in the current situation.
Definitely looks older.
Yeah, he definitely looks older than he did in the movie. And so that took me just a second. I was hoping that he would pop out just like Andrew Garfield did and so when he popped out in his just normal clothes, I was kind of like, oh man, I was like, is he gonna be in his normal clothes the whole time?
Dude, he's a youth pastor.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want this. So, but luckily he gets a Spider-Man suit on.
Well, no, I'm completely with you. I think the film does an excellent job of explaining that, and from there we get a great battle. We get a confrontation, the nanotechnology transferring from Peter to Doc Ock. So immediately I think we were both thinking like,
but how does he
oh no?
How does he already know he's like, oh, nanotech. I just wonder how.
I think so. What it was is he's worked in his world, at least, with all of this technology. That's because I believe nanotechs existed for a while, but it's almost like they've never fully been able to capture it.
Right.
So when he was able to absorb that, I believe the tentacles looked at him and said, "This is nanotechnology."
Ooh,
but
God.
This is nanotechnology.
You nerd.
That was just kind of the way my brain processed it. But they were like, this is nanotechnology in the future, basically. So instead of it just kind of sitting there in a lab like 2004,
right.
It's working. Right. It's working real good. So they're like, we're gonna soak that in. But what they don't know is the technology is so crazy in this world that Peter, and I love that, they're like, oh, it's the future. Clearly we can do a lot more stuff. Peter's like, well, you're going to take my nanotech. I'm just going to control it.
Yeah.
So that scene where he's giggling and you hear his laughter, I'm like, that's Spider-Man.
Yes, that is.
Like that's pure, sitting there cackling at the villain, controlling him. Just everything you want in the character of Spider-Man. This is part of why I am fully embracing Tom Holland as this character now, because we got so many of these moments in this film where he just acts like you want and you think Spider-Man is going to act. So that was awesome. And then we go back to the dungeon right before Green Goblin attacks, and I was hoping we get a battle, but it's okay. I like the way they did it. We go back to the dungeon, and we see Lizard, we see Doc Ock, have some conversations. Dr. Strange says, hey, Peter, I need you to go collect these villains, bring them back here so we can send them back to their time. And we get to see Lizard for the first time. We get to see MJ and Ned kind of come in to help out Peter Parker. So when this mission kind of begins, where was your mindset? Were you excited? Were you interested to see who else we were going to encounter? Where were you at this moment?
Yeah, that's in my mind was like, oh, okay, all right. Who actually all is going to be in this from? Is it going to be all the previous enemies, or is there going to be some that might be missing? So that's where my mind was. I was really excited to see what enemies he was going to have to go after.
Yes, me too. And you know, you think there's going to be a Sinister Six. There only ends up being 5. I'm okay with that at the end of the day, but I do wish part of me's like, they could one more. But that's just a nerdy thing, right? So you go out, you're going to collect Electro. He doesn't know it. He's actually going after the green elf, what he refers to him as. Yeah. And you see Sandman come up and do exactly what I was hoping he would do, which makes a lot of sense. Sandman comes up and protects Peter. Mm-hmm. Not the version of Peter that he knows, but this new version. They managed to capture Electro. I know I'm skipping over a couple things, but they managed to capture Electro, send him back along with a random tree, and then eventually Sandman's like, I don't know you, I don't trust you, so Spider-Man says, you know what, I can't deal with this, sends him back as well. So thus you've collected...
Was it an evil tree?
It was... I love... Ned goes up to he's like, is this... What is this? Is it like a tree being? And Electro's standing there going, it's just a tree, man.
Just a tree.
Just a tree. Just love it. I thought that was so good, man. Electro's really funny.
He is.
He's like, I'm standing here naked.
Yeah. Yeah, he was standing there naked. Yeah. Like, are we just not going to acknowledge that I'm naked right now?
Yeah, I love that, man. So that, again, the comedy worked really well for me in this film. There were some moments where I do wish they would have kind of scaled back, maybe in the more emotional moments, not went as comedic. You know, after Aunt May dies, 5 minutes later you're cracking jokes. Okay, but then again, you got so much emotion that comes from that moment, it didn't bother me as much. So then we finally get to see our final villain in the Green Goblin. You can see that turn happening, but Norman comes back to the forefront. So I believe, where are you at on this, Devin? Was that Norman talking to Aunt May at the beginning? Because to me it felt like he didn't turn back into Goblin until he's standing there with that potion and Doc Ock's behind him. What do you think?
Well, you know, if we go back to the first Spider-Man movie, there are times where it's Norman, and there's time when it's Green Goblin. You know, so he goes back and forth a little bit. So part of me thinks that, yes, it was Norman all the way through, and then at the end, kind of when that end down deep inside, Green Goblin realized, they're coming up with something to get rid of me, then boom, he comes back out.
Yeah, I think that's exactly... Yeah, well, I like that, too, because when he felt threatened...
Yeah.
Because they're really... And there's that moment where he goes back into the cell when Doctor Strange shows up, but even then, it wasn't an attack on him. But a little bit later, when they're all gathered around, Norman feels threatened. Like, oh no, they're about to take Goblin away from me. That's when Goblin comes back. So I love that. I think that's perfect. So you go from there to everyone gathering around, gathering into what looks like, I guess this is Stark's old hangout place. Yes. The spiritual oasis is what Happy calls it. Stark's old hangout place. And you're thinking to yourself, you know, this is going really, really well. But in the back of your mind, it never goes well for Spider-Man. No. Something always happens. So my question was, who's going to stay good when they get good? Who's going to go bad before they get good? Does that make sense?
Quantum physics.
Yes.
Yes.
What? I got an email.
Awesome.
Thanks, man.
Cool.
I'm keeping that in. So this was when we start to cure everyone. We're curing Doc Ock. We have something. And the science behind all of this, it happened pretty quick. It's pretty easy, right? But Stark has this technology that literally can create certain things of matter and things like that. So it didn't bother me all that much, right? You're basically, sciencing your way through this. You've got the technology. Love that little Norman and Peter back and forth. You can come work for me as the multiverse, whatever.
Dr. Osborn and Doc Ock, they were, just baffled by this technology that Tony Stark created, and they just, couldn't believe it. And, them in their universe were, two of the smartest men in New York City. So I thought that was kind of cool.
That's a great point, because they are geniuses. Octavius is a genius, but even he is thrown back by all of this crazy Stark technology. And then he's the one that's like, I don't want you to touch me. I don't want to be a pet, blah, blah, blah. He's the first one, and basically turns back into himself. And the movie did it, right? I was afraid, Devin, that the movie would not explain why he was bad again after he started to get control over the tentacles in Spider-Man 2. But when he explains where he was taken out of, it's when he had Peter by the throat, which was before he turned good again. So the last thing he remembers, and the tentacles, is that he was bad. So it makes all the sense in the world. It's a very simple explanation. Thank you, movie, for doing that. I appreciate that. But turns good again. So you know he's on the side. You know Sandman's somewhat of a good guy. But it's always Green Goblin, man. It's always Goblin. And he's trying to subtly convince Electro, because Electro's very hesitant about doing this. But what did you think about Dafoe as Norman, his turn, and how he gets back into his voice? And what did you think about that, man?
You immediately knew.
Yeah.
You immediately knew. What was I can't remember the line, that first line that he said, but I knew immediately. I turned over to you, and I knew he turned back into Goblin right there. In that sentence, boom, he's back.
And the way they did Peter's spider sense in this film, with the noise, very reminiscent to Tobey's, but a little bit different. Man, and he's walking through, surrounded by all these villains, and you're like, something's about to happen. Yeah. And Octavius gives Norman that look. He's just like, okay. Boom. He turns, and everything turns chaotic. Electro grabs Stark's arc reactor. Norman is punching Spider-Man. May's running to the elevator. Sandman says, all right, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. I'm out. Even though he does kind of contain Electro a little bit there. But Lizard jumps out of the vehicle. Lizard, for me, was kind of like... Lizard was a little awkward in this movie.
Yeah, he was...
A little awkward.
Yeah. There, not there.
Yeah, he's just kind of... And I don't even know if the CGI for Lizard was as good as maybe it was in Amazing Spider-Man. I thought Amazing Spider-Man kind of looked better, because he's a little darker.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And they never actually got the actors on set. Because I'm pretty sure some of the footage that they used for them at the end was footage taken from other films. Like that footage of Sandman turning back into human, I'm fairly positive I've seen that exact footage in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
So I think they just got their voices, which is still cool. I love that they got their voices. But Lizard was okay, but he comes back in, everybody's fighting, but for me, this was maybe even the moment of the movie when Green Goblin is fighting Spider-Man. And specifically when Spider-Man jumps on top of him and he's punching his face and Goblin's just laughing. Yeah. He's got the little Willem Dafoe cackle, man. Yeah. This whole fight scene, for me, I think it is up there, maybe even on the level of the Doc Ock train sequence in Spider-Man 2. I think it's one of the best live-action Spider-Man fight scenes I've ever seen. What'd you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. And man, my mind kept going back to Spider-Man 1 the whole time that we see them fighting, and I kept thinking in my mind, like, watch out for that glider.
Yeah.
Watch out for that glider. It's going to be coming at you. Just get ready.
Oh, yeah, man. It's crazy. It's funny because that didn't even cross my mind. I wasn't thinking glider. I'm thinking, and I guess he does use a pumpkin bomb, but I'm thinking, who's he going to... It can't be May.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. It can't be May because he's got to do something to Peter here. This is too menacing, too threatening, and he is too much of a threat for him not to get away and not kill anybody.
Yeah.
I'm like, could it be Ned? Could it be... And sure enough, he smashes Spidey to the bottom of the building. He pulls his head up, and he basically says, May is forcing you to make these decisions, and May is part of the reason why this is happening to us. She's part of the reason why I'm turning back into Norman Osborn, and he didn't want that clearly. So then in comes what you said, what happened, and sure enough it did, the glider, and that's what got May, I think. I think the pumpkin bomb was kind of just the cherry on top, and made it worse, but what got May was the glider, because you see that stab. And the second that happened, I'm like, she's not going to make it out. But it really hit me when she said, with great power.
Yeah.
When she said, with great power, which the line delivery was, there must be great responsibility.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Which, I guess they got to switch it up. But, boy, Tom Holland in that moment. What'd you think of that?
Well, like I said, I was going back to Spider-Man 1. And, when Osborn does that talking... that's when he was trying to distract Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and he flipped up, and that's when he died.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't successful there. And when he was sitting there talking to him about Aunt May there, and I saw that, I was like, the glider's got to be somewhere. It's got to be somewhere. And then it shows where it was moving. And in my mind, I immediately, I mean, I'm not just trying to brag and say this, I thought about May in that situation. I didn't think about Peter, hitting Peter, but I thought, okay, May's down there with him. This is definitely going to hit May. But I will say this. When it hit May, I thought, okay, maybe it's probably wounded her.
Okay.
I think it's wounded her, but I think she's fine. And even after they try to portray it like, hey, she's fine.
She did.
And it's not into those last few seconds that you're like, oh no, wait, she's really, oh my God, no, wait, oh no, she is dying. Oh my gosh, no, wait, she's dead.
Oh.
I mean, and that honestly like blew my mind that she died, because that's something that I just didn't think would happen.
Yeah.
But then I think about it, and you look back, in every one of the Spider-Man movies, there is some type of loss.
Yep.
There's some type of loss for Peter Parker, and in this one, although he lost Tony Stark,
True.
he really truly did not lose. Someone that he truly, like his family, someone that he truly loves.
Yes.
He didn't lose that MJ, or he didn't lose that Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
So and I know we'll get to it, but the Spider-Mans are like, well, I lost Uncle Ben.
Oh.
I wish he would have mentioned that though.
Uncle Ben?
Well, I wish Spider-Man Tom Holland would mention his Uncle Ben. I don't know if there's
Yeah, well, at this point, I don't even know. I think Ben was mentioned at one point in a couple movies ago, but yeah, nobody's really mentioned Uncle Ben. I think what it is it happened. It had to have happened when Peter was really, really, really young, to the point to where he can barely remember Ben.
Right.
Otherwise, I think maybe they would have showed a gravestone at the end
with her.
Yeah, for him to feel that emotional weight along with her, right? So yeah, that's interesting that they've never really mentioned Ben, but yeah, this time it was May, and each Spider-Man that we've seen, Tobey with Ben and Harry, Garfield with Gwen and Ben, and now Peter with Stark, which is different, and his Aunt May. And that emotion, man, that is so impactful, and my goodness, Tom Holland.
He does a great job.
Oh, my goodness, man. And that scene, I think my favorite shot of the film is the billboard with Jonah on it with the blue, almost that neon look. That reminded me of Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
I got into the Spider-Verse vibes from that shot, man. And then you cut back to his face. I wish they would have even held on that shot of him in the forefront with the billboard and that huge skyline in the background. I wish they would have held on that shot for like 10 seconds, because they keep cutting back, and I'm like, just hold on that shot, man. That could be iconic. I still think it's iconic. It's a great shot. But that's when you're like, dude, this is real, man. The Goblin has just established himself as one of the greatest villains of all time, in my opinion. So you go back to I almost said Gwen, MJ and Ned, and they're experiencing that emotion. I'll let you take it from here. Ned says, I gotta find Peter. Where is Peter? How do I find Peter? Oh, I can use this little magic thing, because, he said he has magic in his family, right?
Yeah.
Which I didn't catch that the first time I watched the movie, because I was like, okay, how's Ned doing this? Dr. Strange, man, he trained, he had to learn, he had to have it, right? Ned may have it. Well, we'll see, I guess, later on, but he opens a portal. What'd you think when he opened that portal?
As soon as he opened it, I said, there they are.
That was
because
it.
Originally, and I told you this, originally when all of the villains started to, started to go a little bit crazy, and Norman starts to go crazy, I looked over at Burke when he got that Spidey sense, and I felt like that was the biggest Spidey sense I've ever seen him experience. So I thought, oh man, somehow Dr. Strange has let these other two Spider-Men here, and now they're all three together experiencing this big, huge Spidey sense.
Ooh,
that's
I like
where
that.
I was at, nerd.
No.
So that's where I was at. But then whenever he opened the portal, I went, oh, wait a second. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Now they're here.
And did you think it was going to be Garfield first? I assumed it would be because you saved Tobey.
You would think that it would be that. I just feel like for the movie standpoint, I feel like a lot of people are bigger fans of Tobey Maguire.
Yeah,
so I just
absolutely.
figured he would come second.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and then my wife has never been to a movie like this. Like, she's never been to a movie where people clap and people scream and stuff like that. And I've been to tons of movies like that.
Yeah, we have together, yeah.
And when he comes out and then you realize, oh, it's Andrew Garfield, everybody's like, whoa,
yeah, jumping.
Yeah, just all going crazy. And I'm pretty sure my wife was asleep at that point for a little bit. She's pregnant, by the way.
And it was late.
Yeah, and it was really late. And I think when she was like, everybody started clapping. She was like, wait, what's going on?
What's happening?
What is that? God bless you.
She has an excuse. She's pregnant.
I could be up for 2 days and still watch that movie.
Hey, congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
He's going to be a dad.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I got a girl on the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Aw. And I'm going to be an uncle. Not really. Yeah, sort of.
She'll have many uncles.
Yeah, she'll have a lot of uncles, man. She's gonna
uncles.
She's going to be a lucky kid. Weird. Nerdy uncles. Yeah. That's going to be me. But yeah, that moment was great, man. And, I will say, even though clearly we were hyped for Tobey because we grew up with Tobey, right? I was 7 when the original movie came out. It is a massive part of our childhood. Andrew comes in, takes his mask off. I immediately remember why I love him.
Yeah.
The second he takes his mask off. The dude is so good. And as much as I loved Tobey showing up in this movie, as much as I loved seeing him, Andrew stole the show.
Yeah.
Andrew stole the whole show. He's incredible. You forget how good of an actor he is. I mean, the guy's going to get an Oscar nomination. There's a movie, Devin, that came out on Netflix, Tick, Tick, Boom. Andrew's 100% getting an Oscar nomination. He is a phenomenal actor. I think he's the best of the bunch, right? Even though Tom really proved himself in this film. But he's a phenomenal actor. The dude has every ounce of charm and charisma you want from Peter Parker. Yeah. And I love the interaction between he, MJ, and Ned. But what really sold it for him with the bread thing and the spider sense, but what really sold it for me...
That cobweb.
He climbs up and he's like, she speaks and he's like, will you go up there? And she really needs you to get that. And he's just like, okay, whatever. And he's so calm about it. But what really got me is when he and Tobey look at each other for the first time. They do a little bit of their powers, doing flips, webbing each other. My heart is about to explode at that point. I'm about to die at that point, like just internally combust. And even seeing it for the 3rd time last night, Devin, I felt the exact same way. But when Tobey comes through the portal and we see him, and he looks a little bit older, but he looks, it's still that awkwardness, right, that you love from that Peter Parker. He's like, hi, hello. I thought he always captured that.
Quiet.
Yeah, he's so quiet. Such a good dude. What'd you think?
Man, to me, Tobey Maguire is, when I think about Spider-Man, that's where I go to just because he's my childhood. Tobey Maguire. And so when he popped out, first of all, I know I said it earlier, I was super ticked. I was like, why does he not have a Spider-Man suit? But, that's something to discuss. I'm sure at this point he's kind of like probably a little bit retired.
Sure.
I'm sure he kind of just only puts the suit on when it's like big things.
Sure. Yeah.
Like when New York City is like really under attack, like about to be bombed. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like he's like, he talked about later on his back and stuff. Yeah. But I was really, really impressed when he came out, and it looks good for his age.
Yeah,
looks good.
Yeah, he looks older, but it looks good. Yeah,
looks good. Like he looks like he still could fight.
Yeah,
and not to have too much trouble. But I was so excited. I immediately went back to me and with that little kid and looking up at the big screen, saying I want to be Spider-Man someday, and it was awesome. It really was.
And now you get to see what he has progressed to, and kind of that calmness, and he's almost like the leader of the pack. Even though Tom is Peter 1, Tobey's presence is just this experienced being, because Andrew at one point he says, Gwen died, I went a little crazy, I made some bad mistakes. I want to see that movie.
Yeah.
I want to see that movie, by the way. But I made some mistakes. Tobey's Peter, on the other hand, it's this presence. It's this calm,
He's the mature one.
He's
the mature one. He's like he's experienced the most out of all of them.
Yes.
So he should have the most knowledge and be kind of that leader.
And I think that was very evident. So when we get their first interaction where we're talking about Ben's death, May's death, he mentions Gwen, all those things, and the sadness, and when they're coming down from the tower, and those shots were so cool, man. Awesome. Oh, those shots were so cool. But they finally, after talking with great power comes great responsibility, they finally earn our Peter's trust. So they had to do that first. And once they earn our Peter's trust, that's when they go. One of the coolest things I've ever seen in a Spider-Man movie, Peter Parker squared? No. Peter Parker tripled? Cubed? Yeah, Peter Parker cubed. Peter Parker cubed. Science bros.
Yes.
Science bros. Peter Parker's smart.
Yes.
We got to see this play out, man. I think Andrew's Peter was a great example of that because he's making his own webs, doing his own web fluid. He's doing it all by himself. But we've never really seen that with our Peter and not as much Tobey's Peter. But now they're science broing it up together. And Tom's Peter did that a lot in this film. He did that earlier. He does that in this scene. But within the science bro scene, and I'm saying that because that's actually the name of the song that's played, the score of the movie. I think it's called Science Bros. Score is great, by the way. But yeah, some of these interactions, man. The thing with Ned, the best friend taking over, becoming the villain, blah, blah, blah. That was great. The banter back and forth between Andrew and Tobey, and, learning kind of, is he with MJ? He says, we made it work. I'm like, yes! We made it work!
Yeah, that was awesome.
It was great. I loved learning that, just kind of knowing where he is.
Yeah.
And all of this stuff, the Peter Square, and I don't know if you've seen the pointing meme, right? Where there's three...
Oh, yeah, they're all... Yeah.
So that was the pointing meme, because when they're all going, she goes, Peter, and they all go, yeah? No, that Peter? And they all go, yeah, that Peter? We got the pointing meme.
Yeah.
So that was their version of the pointing meme. So I thought that was brilliant. What were some of your favorite moments from the Science Bro scenes?
I think my favorite was when he started talking about, he's like, I'm Peter's best friend. Ned was talking, and he was like, well, my best friend turned evil, and he tried to kill me, and then he died, and he's like, oh my god. And he goes over to Peter, and he was like, I'll never turn evil and try to kill you.
Well, and I mean, in the comics, Ned turns evil. Yeah. He turns into Hobgoblin.
That's what you told me yesterday, and I hope not. That's kind of nice. He's a nice guy.
But the guy, I'm telling you, the more I see Jacob Batalon, the actor, it looks like he's getting bulkier, like bulking up, like looking like really strong. And I'm like, is he doing that because he's going to be a villain at some point? You know what I mean?
Could be.
It could be, man. So yeah, that's a possibility. I love the Science Bro scene. Swing through a portal, calling out the villains. Tom says, I need everybody to come here. It almost reminded me of Spider-Man 3 when Venom brings Tobey in. He's got the stuff written in the webs. Yeah. Except this time he's calling in the Daily Bugle. We've not even talked about Jonah, by the way. Jonah's great in this movie. Peter's like, yeah, I hope people are watching, and that little... Yeah, of course people are watching. Like, of course people are going to be watching my show. Yeah. And all that, those little back and forth. But then the villains start to show up, right? But before the villains show up, we get some absolutely hilarious banter between the three Peters.
Oh, that was the best part. One of the best parts.
Dude, so much needed banter between these characters. What were some of your, like, the back popping and just the memes? My God, so many memes. What'd you think about that?
Oh, that was awesome. And the thing, I was sitting there talking to you, and it's like, they all was sitting there bragging about, each other and stuff like that. And I looked over at Burke, and I was like, why doesn't he say that he was part of the Avengers? Like,
he did.
It's like he was the only Spider-Man that was a part of the Avengers. He needs to tell them that. That's something that's pretty cool. It's pretty impressive. But one of my favorite parts, I just was like, I really was wanting to know more about their background story, and kind of in that, after the movies, and kind of in that scene, it helps give you some more background about them. And that was the thing that I really liked about it the best.
And Andrew's lack of confidence, like, I don't know, guys, because he's always been the one, right? The one, there's their Toms, there's the Tobeys, and then Andrew's, not as many people love Andrew Garfield, which is a shame because he's a phenomenal actor. Yeah. But he's like, I don't know, guys, I just don't have a lot of confidence. And Tobey looks at him, he's like, you're the Amazing Spider-Man,
like,
you're amazing.
You're amazing.
You're amazing. And I just, the writing, the fact that they made this work, first of all, is awesome. But the writing behind that was so good. And then they're talking about their villains, and Andrew's like, yeah, I fought a guy in a rhino costume. And it's just because it's such the stupidest thing. And everyone hated Rhino. And even he acknowledged, he's like, yeah, I fought a guy in a rhino costume. And Toby's like, but I want to go back to the fact that, Tom, you were in space. Like, you fought a guy in space. So, the best banter. I mean, maybe some of my favorite back and forth moments.
Fought a black alien
black goo
thing.
Yeah, he's mentioning Venom, which, the portal would have been open a little bit longer. That version of Eddie Brock could have came right through, so that would have been interesting.
And I could have swore, and now we know, but I could have swore because it just looks so much like Spider-Man 3 with the poles and stuff around and all that. Like, I could have just swore at that moment I thought Venom was going to pop up somehow, some way.
Going back and watching that movie and seeing the scaffolding and stuff like that, I'm like, man, this is like prime time to bring Topher Grace back as Venom. But, I mean, technically we do get a little bit of Venom. We'll get a little bit of Venom, so we'll talk about that. Yeah. But, they try their best to take on some of these villains, and, we get the rematch between Andrew and Electro, and it's not working out too well. So they come back together. They're talking Peter 1, Peter 2. Who's Peter 2? Who's Peter 1? Andrew goes, Peter 3. And he's like, Peter 3. And that's when Tom, I'm referring to him by their actors' names, he says what you said he would say. He's like, guys, I was part of the Avengers. And Toby goes,
no big deal.
He goes, that's great. And pure Toby, what is that?
Yeah.
Like, that was pure Toby. And that, I looked at you and I'm like, you called it, man. Yeah. Like, you called it.
I called it.
You did.
I called it. I knew at some point he had to bring that up. And, it just kind of blows my mind that there's, like, in their universe, there's nothing like that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of...
It's kind of crazy, man. It's
kind of crazy that they don't have anything like that at all.
And that shows that the multiverse is... And Norman earlier in the film says there's no Oscorp in this world. I always thought he would get his own version of Norman, but now that this happens, I'm like, well, obviously Norman exists, but maybe he didn't start Oscorp. Yeah. You know what I mean? So maybe it's just... They'll never do that. That'll never happen. From there, the Spidermen throw on their masks, run off the scaffolding, jump... They're swinging, but they're not only swinging, Dev. They're swinging and swinging on others' webs and
on each other,
throwing each other off, and you hear the woohoo, like the classics.
Yeah.
And then they jump onto that. It's just an iconic, all three Spider-Man standing there on the Statue of Liberty. What was that like?
Doing those, like, their particular moves. Too,
yeah.
Like the iconic, I don't want to do it.
Spider poses?
Yeah, they're spider poses.
But my back,
That right there was like, I looked over at you and I said, I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
Literally, I got goosebumps during that scene. I was like smiling from ear to ear, and like, you can kind of just like look around at everyone else, and they're all just like smiling. Because, I mean, like, it's everything that you wanted. It was everything that you wanted right there in that scene. Just them three together, having fun and fighting evil. And it was awesome.
And extra, too. Like, I didn't expect all the banter. I didn't expect all the references. It's like fan service, but fan service that's warranted, fan service that works, fan service that is given to us with also a great script. But the focus, Devin, I said this in my review, the focus was always on Tom's Peter. It was always on Tom's Peter. And that's what this movie needed to be. And I love that. So they're swinging, and I'll move through this fairly quickly. Get some of the villainous battles. I will say, I did want maybe more from Tobey in the battle, because Andrew gets to fight Electro. Tobey, at one point, goes up. He's being surrounded by Sandman, but Tobey never really got that personal battle. Yeah. Like, I would have loved to have seen Tobey take on Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin at some point.
Yes.
Oh, I would have loved to have seen that. And sort of does, but not really. Or even Tobey take on...
Like a one-on-one true battle between them for like just a minute.
Yeah, just to have...
45 seconds.
Yeah, just to have something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need a little something. But right before that happens, Doctor Strange comes back. We get all the great things within the battle. The best part, I think, when MJ's falling, Peter gets hit by the glider, I'm thinking to myself, it's got to be Andrew. it's got to be Andrew because Andrew wasn't able to save Gwen, saves MJ. That was a
Yeah,
very good fan theory and one that everybody was just so right on online. Andrew saves MJ. That was great. Well, what are some of the other moments during this battle, Devin, that I'm forgetting? I thought that little moment where Sandman starts to turn back into his actual character. You get the music, Tobey's music underneath, which was just oh my God, man.
That was one thing I forgot to mention, the incorporation of that music. That was awesome.
And that's another that I think that's one of the best attentions to detail because also when Doc Ock comes in is good. So the chip didn't get
Doc
fried.
Ock comes back.
Yeah, it's almost like they had a safeguard and their chip didn't get fried, and so he's good and he's kind of helps save the day. Yeah. Electro's sitting there. Andrew comes in. They have a conversation. His music comes in. The da-na-na-na. That music comes in. I'm like, yes. Followed by a conversation with Tobey and Doc. Octavius. Love seeing that. So that was great. And then, Goblin comes in. Well, once Dr. Strange comes in and realizes that there's 3 Peters, I've got to do something about this, trying to patch up the portals because the world is breaking. The sky is being torn apart. But man, oh man, just the fact that that one guy, Norman Osborn, can be a threat to all 3 Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, and takes the cube, cuts off one of Doc's arms, which is something I didn't even really think about. And you think it's good because they get the cube back. There's a safeguard. There's a bomb in it. And all 3, you hear Tobey's, the kind of the sound effect that we used to get in his movies. Yeah. You hear Tom's sound effect, Andrew's explosion. Boom, explosion. So it's not over because this sets up a battle between Tom and Dafoe, between Spider-Man and Green Goblin. And as all of this is happening, the cape saves Ned, by the way. I thought that was a nice touch with all the...
Land safely.
Yeah, with all the magic stuff. They have this awesome battle. More great action between the 2 characters. Spider-Man's taking Goblin, he's slamming him on the ground. He's getting close to that point. We see Tobey and Andrew's face. They're looking. They're like, oh, no. Don't do this, Peter. Don't do this, man. Peter. Don't do this, Peter. Peter. Don't do this. But... it gets to that point, man. And Tom picks up that glider. He's full of rage. Picks up that glider. He's about to do it. And in comes, again, kind of the father figure of the whole freaking movie, Tobey Maguire, stopping that glider. And then you get that, the camera zooms out a little bit. You get Dafoe there once he gets, of course, the serum. So he's, what was that before or after the serum? No, that was before the serum, right? Mm-hmm. Because Tobey's in there and then Tobey stops him. You get the back and forth, and then Tobey gets stabbed. What'd you think when Tobey got stabbed?
Well, what was funny was what was in my mind. Somebody literally 2 rows down from us yells. They yelled the B word as loud as they could, and I just started dying laughing because that's where my mind was. I was like, son of a gun.
It was immediate too. Tobey gets stabbed. He goes, "You!" He screams it in the theater. It was perfect timing. Yeah. It was perfect. So I thought Tobey was dead.
I did too. In my mind, I thought, okay, this is where Tobey's going to go out. They're going to give him an ending, and he'll die here, and we'll say goodbye to him forever. That's where my mind was on that. But thankfully, that didn't happen.
That didn't happen. And here's what I think.
It's like, I've been stabbed before.
Yeah. It's played off as like this big epic thing, and he's laying there. And he's like, it's okay. I've been stabbed. So for me, that was a bit awkward. And part of that is because I feel like, here's what I feel like, right? I feel like the original intention was for Tobey to die. Yeah. I think that was the original intention. And they saw the hype. Then they saw what this could be. And then they said, you know what? When they went back in, maybe when they went and did reshoots, because they did reshoots for this film not long ago, maybe we should keep him alive. Just in case. It's so funny because after my second viewing Thursday night, I actually had a dream. This sounds really stupid. I had a dream that Tobey was in Doctor Strange, in Multiverse of Madness. Mm-hmm. Don't know why. It doesn't mean anything because it's literally just me sleeping. But they kept him alive on purpose.
Yeah, well, Marvel's always a bigger picture. And at the end of this, when we start to get through this phase and we start to get to whoever the big guy is again, I could see, especially if whoever the next person is, the next big guy, is a lot bigger and badder than Thanos, then they're going to need all the help they can get. And
Yes.
if they can somehow open up the multiverse and have Andrew and Tobey come back in to help, that would make sense.
It would.
It
And
would.
honestly, Sony, if you're listening, and I know you're not, but if you are, first of all, don't copyright this video because you do all of them. But second of all, maybe you want to go back and explore. Maybe you want to go back and give us a proper finale for Tobey and a proper finale for Andrew. I'm just saying. Because we could explore what Andrew's been up to with going too far, taking things too far, and then Tobey and MJ's relationship, and maybe give us one more great villain for each. I think there is an opportunity to do that, and I think both actors...
People watch it.
Oh, yeah.
People will watch that.
They would watch it, and I think after
I'll watch it.
the reception for this movie, I think everyone would be up for it, and both actors will see that everyone's up for it, because you've got rave reviews across the board. This movie's going to make $200 million this weekend. Everything's lining up for perfection from that standpoint. So
Not seen a movie theater like that since Endgame.
no, and even Endgame for me, like Cap's hammer, right? The portal scene, but I'm gonna put Tobey and Andrew coming through the portal up there with the loudness
The audience,
and the
yeah.
cheering and the screaming and the you.
Yeah, that was funny.
Just man, what a cool experience
It
that
was.
was seeing all of that. But the movie's not over there, right?
Right.
Spider-Man say goodbye. Spider-Man, they say goodbye to each other, give their hugs. Nostalgia, my joy factor is at 11 at that point. And then from there, Spider-Man makes the decision that everyone should forget, because that's the only way to fix this.
Yeah.
That is the only way to fix this. And before I hit on that super quick, Dev, because I do want to wrap this up, because I know you guys at this point, you're like, please stop talking. But I want to acknowledge what happens to the villains. Do they go back to their universes the way that they are fixed, or do they go back and everything gets reversed? I'm going to say they're fixed, because I don't think they would do all that just to reset it. But you have the little factor of, well, if they go back fixed, that's going to change their entire universe.
Timeline, yeah.
What happens there?
I feel like Dr. Strange would, when he came back, been like, you idiot! You done all this work, and I'm going to send it back, and it's going to completely reverse everything.
Yeah.
Why, But
Yeah.
he didn't say that.
It's true. It's a good point. Good point.
I think maybe when they do go back, it is their new selves. If not, it was a waste of a movie. That's the way I look at it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. So that's a great point too. It's like, yeah, that kind of everything that happened would have been void.
What if that's how it went? It's like, you idiot, they're going to go back and die anyways. Been like, what?
You just wasted 45 minutes of the audience's
We're all
time.
just sitting there like, oh my god, this movie was a waste.
And Aunt May would have died for no reason.
Yeah.
At that point, Aunt May's death would have meant nothing if they go back and they're just normal. So
realize Aunt May death
yeah,
for no reason.
for no reason on the yeah, it's just so I'm completely with you. I think everything sticks. That's why I'm curious, like, how is their universe going to how does that affect the timeline? Oh my god, the implications. How are they going to explain this? The implications are crazy. But Tom makes the decision that everyone's going to forget. And not only is everyone going to forget, he goes and confronts MJ and Ned and has this thing prepared, has this letter. What an emotional moment this is going to be. He sees that Band-Aid on her head and says, you know what? I don't even want to fool with it. I think this is better.
And I immediately go to Tobey Maguire. And I think about from Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2, I'm like the whole time, like, just tell MJ. Just tell her.
Yeah.
Just tell her that's who you are, man. You want her, tell her. And the same thing there, I'm like, he's not going to tell her. He sees that, you know what, their lives are going to be better off without me. And I even talk about in Spider-Man 1, that little tiny little crappy apartment that he has. He goes back into that apartment and does that. And that's immediately where my mind went to. I was like, he's kind of realized that, you know what, might be better off if they just don't know me at all. Keep them safe.
Oh, and that's so hard. And but I love the decision. Because that is Spider-Man. That is Peter Parker at his core, doing what's best for other people, even if that means that's not what's best for him. Because even as miserable as his situation looks with the apartment, nice little throwback to Tobey, I was hoping the guy would be like, rent? But no. God, I missed the rent guy in this movie. He should have came through the portal.
Yeah.
But no, he goes in and he's still smiling. Even through all the pain.
Yeah.
still got a smile on his face, and that's classic Peter Parker, which I love. So you see that he's putting his own new suit together, a little glossy, but boy, that thing's going to look good.
Yeah, it looked good.
That suit's going to look real. You see him going out the window, I'm like, that's red and blue, because he's never really had that pure red, that pure blue before. Very comic book looking suit, swinging out into which Madison and I were just there last week in New York at Rockefeller. Yeah, at Rockefeller, which is around the same time that Hawkeye's taking place. So I wouldn't be surprised in the finale of Hawkeye next week, we see Spider-Man swinging through, because I think it's almost the same exact time period. But I will tell you this. I thought the ending, as sad as it was, as heartbreaking as it was, I think the ending is perfect. I thought the way this movie ended was absolutely spectacular. And I think, well, if you want to go spectacular for the next 3 movies, the Spectacular Spider-Man. But I think that sets up so many great things to come for this character, now having to be on his own, live a life where no one knows that he's Spider-Man. People still remember, now we have the scene with Happy, he still remembers Spider-Man helping the Avengers, but he doesn't know that Peter was Spider-Man. Right. He has no clue. So I like that stuck, but I also like now that he has the opportunity to go out on his own, maybe team up with Daredevil, right? He's already been in a Spider-Man movie. Maybe do a little bit of Venom stuff, which we'll talk about. But your thoughts on the ending, Devin?
I love the ending. I think it puts him, because he's a different Peter Parker than you see from the comic books. And I think this puts him on a timeline that's more Peter Parker-like-ish. You know what I mean? He's got that secret identity. His main focus is on keeping his friends and family safe. And now that he can really focus on that and just be his friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Perfect. That's perfect, because now he is the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, like full on. And this is everyone who complained about Iron Man Jr., I think this is going to solve that problem. Everyone who wanted to see him do this, it's going to help that. So I think it's the perfect way to do it. And for the next trilogy, which I think not officially confirmed, but pretty much for the next trilogy, I see them possibly waiting on Venom, but that's coming, because in the first post-credits scene, or the mid-credits scene, we see Tom Hardy as Venom carrying over from the post-credits scene from Let There Be Carnage, where he goes to the universe, but now he's at the universe. So some people are going to ask, why is he there? Because he doesn't know that Peter's Spider-Man. But the symbiote that is acknowledged in the post-credits scene of Let There Be Carnage, the symbiote says, I am aware of what happens to me in all universes. So the symbiote says, I know that in Tobey's universe, this is basically what he says, I know that Peter is Spider-Man, and I have always had this affection for Spider-Man. So being there, Hardy and Venom, they're very curious about Spider-Man, this human being, this person. So he says, maybe we should go pay this guy a visit. But before he can do that, he's gone. He gets taken back. So that tells me that Hardy is not going to be Eddie Brock in this universe. But there is a piece of that suit left behind.
So there's going to be someone else is going to be Venom. Okay.
That's what I think. And in the comics, Flash Thompson, the guy who, wanted to be Spider-Man's friend, wrote the book, all that stuff, Flash does become Venom at a point. So it would be a little weird, because he's not the Flash that we're used to. He's not big and buff. He is a kind of a bully, but he becomes Venom. So are they going to go that storyline, or is it just going to be Black Suit Spider-Man and they're just going to cut Venom altogether? I don't think they can do that. I think eventually when he rips that suit off, someone's got to be, like in Tobey's movies, someone's got to be at the bottom of that clock tower waiting for that suit. Yeah. Who's it going to be? That's my question, Devin. I have no clue. No clue. So that's the first one. And then the second one is Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness trailer. Now, I don't want to talk too much about that. I'm going to wait till it releases to do an actual review and reaction on it. But Devin, what were your brief thoughts on this Doctor Strange trailer?
Well, the thing that I think with this trailer is that it's just going to open up just madness. I mean, literally, it's going to open up so many possibilities when you go into multiverse stuff, and as we have seen with this movie, I feel like the possibilities are completely endless with what Marvel can do now.
Yes.
So I'm just excited to see where they're going to go. with this and how this movie is going to just take us. I feel like this movie is just going to be that stepping stone. The
Yes.
multiverse is going to be that stepping stone onto, all right, this is where we're going next.
Yes.
And here's who's going to be there. You know,
I think it'll be. You could have the Spider-Man come back. I also think it's going to be the X-Men. I think the X-Men. This will be their first introduction. I have a feeling. Don't know if it's going to be the younger cast or the older cast. We could see Magneto, Professor X. I think we could see all those guys. And this will be possibly your introduction to a new Fantastic Four cast, because clearly they don't want to go back to those other films. And
John Krasinski, get him.
Oh, yes, please.
Get him.
Emily Blunt.
Come on.
John Krasinski.
Get him. If you don't get him, I'm going to be so mad.
Go get him, Marvel. Okay, Kevin
Please.
Feige. Go get him.
He's a great director, too.
Yes, he
can
is.
help out with directing.
Yes, he is. Man, I'll tell you one thing.
He likes everything to be a little quiet, though.
Yeah. Well, only if it's a quiet place. Anyway, so overall thoughts, Devin, on this movie. What did you think overall of this film?
You know, I've sat back and thought about it, like to think if this is one of my favorite Spider-Man movies that I've ever watched. You know, obviously everybody goes to Spider-Man 2 is, you know, one of their favorites. And I think this just tying in from Spider-Man 2, tying everyone in together. I think this is probably one of my favorite Spider-Man movies.
Yep.
And I even went ahead yesterday and told Burke that it might be one of my favorite solo movies that I've ever seen.
Not Han Solo.
Yeah, not Han Solo movie, but just one of the standalone superhero solo movies. And I even said, and Burke didn't agree with me, over Captain America, Winter Soldier.
Yeah. See, Winter Soldier's my go-to. I can't go there yet, but I will say it took a bit for Winter Soldier to get to that level of just because I've watched it like 15 times, right? But I'm with you, Dev. I think this is...
Everybody knows Cap's my favorite. I mean, really, Captain America's my favorite, and I don't know, this movie was... I just to say that I've not had more fun with the movie than I did any of the other ones.
Yeah.
You know, this is the most fun I've ever had with a solo standalone movie. The only one that can compare with the most fun was with Endgame, with everyone, you know, in the crowd and freaking out and everything, and you know, us just being together. That was the most fun I've ever had with the standalone superhero movie.
And even with some of my nitpicks, like some of the cheesy lines from Sandman, he's like, "Hello, I am Flint Marko. I am here to help you." I'm like, okay. And then the lizard CGI, and then, you know, some of those slower moments in the first half, really those moments are so integral for what happens later on in the movie. And some of that dialogue, as cheesy as some of the villains' dialogue is and tonally inconsistent, I don't care as much because I just had the best experience the first time, the second time, and even last night, 10:30 at night. We were all exhausted. Still loving this film. Like, there's no way I could ever look back at this and say they didn't nail it.
No.
Because they nailed it.
They did. They nailed it, for sure.
And I think this is the first time everyone, audiences, critics, everyone is at least in somewhat agreement that they did justice to these older characters and did justice to this story. So, Dave, I'm going to let you go, man. I know we've been talking for forever. I know I've been talking to you guys for a long time. So, hey, sorry for the length of the video, but we had a lot to cover with this movie. Hey, man, thank you. Thank you for coming, driving all the way here, doing this, watching this movie with me, looking at me in my stupid outfit. Thank you for being here, man.
Hey,
and you look great, too, by the way.
Hey, thanks, man. Hey, you look great. Look at them pecs. Yeah.
Ab.
Next time I'm on here, I want 200,000 subscribers. So,
oh
you gotta
boy,
be
that's
liking, sharing, everything. Okay,
it's a high mark to hit, buddy.
That's what I want.
Well, where can people? Can they find you anywhere?
You can just follow me on Twitter.
Yeah.
Devin Clevinger. Just follow me there. I have a YouTube channel, but it's nothing. I have like 12 subscribers. I think it's my mom, my dad, my uncle, all that stuff. So.
Well, let's make it 13.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna make it 13.
Yeah.
No, man, I can't thank you enough for being here. You'll be back, I'm sure, and we'll be back talking more Spider-Man. I have a villains tier list on the way, and also a re-ranking of my Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Devin, what's your number one MCU movie before we go?
My number one MCU movie ever?
Ever.
Like they ever made?
All of them.
I mean, I just have to, like, just the one my favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'd have to go with Endgame. I mean, I mean, I know like score wise, with the critics and everything, that's not the number one based on, but like just for me and my cinematic experience, it was Endgame for me. Like when Cap picked up the hammer, picked up Mjolnir, that was it for me.
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
Well, I mean, it's my number 2. Winter Soldier is still 1 for me. It's my number 2. But I'll tell you what, the fact that Spider-Man's even creeping into that conversation is really cool. It's really cool. So can't thank you guys enough. Follow me on Twitter. I have a TikTok now. You want to follow me on there. If you want to, you don't have to. All those things. And stay tuned. We're going to be doing more. If you like this review, drop your thumbs up. It helps out this video. It's a long one. It's a lengthy one. If you're still here,
Thank you.
I appreciate it. All right, guys.